March 28, 2024, Beijing. A CEO stepped onto a stage, looking visibly thinner than usual. He's about to unveil a product that is going to sell 50,000 units in just 27 minutes. The venue is packed. Engineers, journalists, investors. Lei Jun, the man in the center of it all, surveys the crowd. He called his project the last major entrepreneurship project of his life. He's 54 years old. This is his final bet. When the Xiaomi SU7 is revealed, the specs flash on the screen. Faster than a Porsche Taycan, longer range than a Tesla Model S, and priced 30,000 renminbi cheaper than a Model 3. The crowd erupts. Then Li dropped this line. In the past 3 years, he says, we've invested over $10 billion and dedicated 3,400 engineers to this project. The order counter goes live. Within 4 minutes, 10,000 cars are sold. By minutes 27, 50,000. The entire year's production capacity gone in a single day. In the days that followed, customers lined up until 3 a.m. just to get a test drive. The company known as Apple of China had just successfully built a car, and the entire global auto industry went into a shock. But here's what makes this insane. 8 years earlier, this same company was declared dead. The press invented a word for it: Unicorpse, the fallen unicorn. Shipment had crashed from 70 million to 41 million. Their market share had collapsed. The once mighty startup had fallen to 5th place. In hardware business, companies do not come back like that. Sony Ericsson didn't. Motorola didn't. HTC didn't. So how did Xiaomi? I'm Howard Yu. I'm the Lego professor at IMD Business School in Switzerland. I teach strategy and innovation, and I spent 3 years researching this story and what Lei Jun pulled off. It breaks every rule we teach in a business school. Because here's the thing, when companies fall like Xiaomi did, they don't ever come back. Never. So this is the story of the greatest comeback in tech history. And when you peel back the layers, you realize this isn't about a car. It's a story about how to escape corporate death and why this specific miracle could only happen in one place on Earth. It's going to change how you think about failure forever. So let's go back to where it all began. The rise. It's 2010. Lei Jun isn't building a phone company yet. He's building something much stranger. It's called MIUI. It's just a custom version of Android that he releases on hacker forums for free. He goes to these enthusiasts and asks a simple question: what do you want? And something magical happens. 78 million users show up. They aren't just downloading software. They're building it with him. Every Friday 5 p.m. Beijing time, a new update drops based on users' feedback. One user wrote, I log onto the system in my spare time every day. It makes me very happy and relaxed. By 2011, Lei Jun has some 300,000 die-hard believers begging for phone. So he decided to build one for them. The engineering team was already in a frenzy. Then the presentation team vanished into a room, locked the door, and didn't re-emerge for 6 weeks. The only sign of life was a sheet of paper taped outside. One word: madhouse. Think about that. They weren't just preparing some launch of a regular gadget. They were preparing to take on Samsung and Apple with zero retail presence, zero brand recognition, and a business model that made no sense to anybody. When they finally launched the Mi One in August 2011, Lei Jun walked on stage in a black polo shirt, channeling Steve Jobs. The phone has a dual-core Qualcomm processor, rivaling Samsung's best, but it cost half as much, 100 units. Gone. 3 hours. Lei Jun called this the triathlon model. It was brilliant in its simplicity. 1. Sell hardware at cost. Margins were razor thin. Maybe $7 per phone compared to Apple's $70. 2. Sell online only. No physical stores. No middle person. Use flash sales to create a frenzy. 3. Make real money on services, like skins on Android phone, games and ads. By 2014, Xiaomi looked unstoppable. Shipment jumped 226%. They sold some 61 million phones, and they were number 1 in China and number 3 in the world. Investors value Xiaomi at $45 billion, making them the world's most valuable startup. Everything Lei Jun touches turns to gold. Time magazine named him one of the 100 most influential people on the planet. He was on the cover of every business magazine. Analysts start calling him the next Steve Jobs. Lei Jun thinks that he had discovered a universal law of business. He hasn't. He was about to learn the hardest lesson of any entrepreneur can face. What you got here won't get you there. The fall. The cracks appeared in 2015. Lei Jun had just set a target to ship 80 to 100 million phones. They only shipped 70 million. Growth slowed to 15%, a number that used to be in triple digits. In the startup world, slowing growth is blood in the water. Investors start asking hard questions. The press starts circulating. Here's what Lei Jun got wrong. Online sales only accounted for 20% of China's smartphone market. Lei Jun had bet everything on that 20% and completely ignored the other 80%. While Xiaomi was playing the flash sales game online, rivals like Oppo and Vivo were doing something Lei Jun completely missed. They were flooding rural China with physical stores, over 200,000 of them. By the summer of 2016, the situation was dire. It's past midnight in Beijing, and Lei Jun was pacing an empty conference room. Shipments have crashed from 70 million down to 41 million. They've fallen from number 1 to number 5. That's when the press started using the word Unicorpse. Historically, when a hardware company lost that much of a momentum, the story ends. It happened to BlackBerry. It happened to Nokia. Nobody comes back from the graveyard. But Lei Jun wasn't done yet. The impossible pivot. What happened next is the part that business schools struggle to explain. In September 2015, quietly and almost secretly, Xiaomi opened a store in a Beijing mall. But it's not a phone store. If you walk inside, it looks like a bazaar, an open market. You see phones next to rice cookers, next to electric scooters, next to air purifier. Lei Jun brought in Tim Coby, the architect behind Apple's Fifth Avenue glass cube, to design this space. Lei Jun tells him essentially, I want stores that make people happy, not stores that make people buy. Lei Jun realized that buying a phone is a low-frequency event. You only do it once every 2 years. But you might need a Bluetooth speakers, a smart kettle, a robot vacuum cleaner, and much more often. He wants dwell time by customer, engagement, emotional connection. But how do you fill a store with hundreds of products without losing focus? Well, you don't build them yourselves. This is the genius of the ecosystem strategy. Xiaomi went out and found hundreds of partners companies, startups that make specific hardware. Xiaomi then give them capital, supply chain access, and branding. In exchange, these startups build best-in-class product to fill Xiaomi shelves. Xiaomi provide capital brand and supply chain. The startup brought in ideas. Fitness tracker, electric scooters, robot vacuums, smart luggage, even toilet seats. None of these was made by Xiaomi. All of it looks like Xiaomi, yes. White, minimalistic, affordable, premium view, budget price. Dozens of stores appeared, then hundreds. Xiaomi call it planting a garden. The strategy works. Mi Home stores were generating some 240,000 renminbi per square meters annually. The only company on earth with higher retail efficiency was Apple. By May 2018, they had over 400 stores. But here's what's brilliant about all this. Your Xiaomi phone controls your air purifier. It connected to your rice cooker or your scooters. Your Xiaomi robot vacuum, everything can be monitored on your smartphone. Lei Jun wasn't just fixing his retail problem, he was building an ecosystem that would make the phone more valuable because each device is a hook now, and each hook strengthens the lock-in. Then Lei Jun made another bold move. In January 2019, he split the company brand into two. Redmi would handle the budget phone and online sales. The main Mi brand would chase after premium market and retail stores. It worked. In 2017, shipments surged to 19 million. By 2019, 125 million. He flashed a slide in one of the corporate events. Take life and death in stride. If you're not convinced, let's fight. The audience roars. The old swagger is back. The comeback was complete. But this level of speed, the ability to pivot from software to hardware to retail to an entire ecosystem of gadgets, I ask all the time, could this happen in Silicon Valley? Could this happen in London or Tokyo? The comeback story, could that happen in anywhere else outside of China? The answer, I believe, is no. And the reason why makes a lot of people feel extremely uncomfortable. Why this only works in China? Walk into a Mi Home store and look closely at the product. Every shelf is packed with gadgets built by contract manufacturers or young startups. The component parts come from nearby industrial clusters, supplier, mold maker, assembly lines, all within a short drive. A mold is off by a fraction, an engineer walks it across the street, fixed before lunch. In America or Europe, the same process could take weeks. You email the supplier, they send in a revision, you wait for shipping, another meeting, another revision. In China, upstream control material is everywhere. The rare earth, the iron, the copper, the petrochemicals for plastic casings. Everything Lei Jun needed to move fast was within reach. But here's another reason why Xiaomi can pull this off. And ironically, they have an American company to thank for. It's no coincidence that Xiaomi's rise happened after Apple put down roots in China. When Tim Cook started building the iPhone supply chain in China, he didn't just look for factories. He built standard. Apple engineers from Cupertino lived on factory floors in Shenzhen. A misaligned screw meant that stopping the entire line. Close enough? No, that would get you fired. Grace Wang, the founder of Luxshare, a major electronic manufacturer, admit this openly. He told Tim Cook that Apple's impossible requirements forced her company to evolve. Basically, Apple taught the Chinese manufacturing sector how to be perfect. The ecosystem never vanished afterwards. The tooling stayed. The supply network stayed. The engineers who learned to meet Apple standards kept getting better. Apple asked for the impossible. The Chinese were the only one who said yes. And Xiaomi reaped the reward. When Xiaomi needed to build a world-class ecosystem fast, the infrastructure was already there. waiting to be used. And then, luck found Lei Jun. I go deeper on the full Xiaomi ecosystem strategy, including charts and data I couldn't fit in here on my Substack, link in the description. The Vacancy. May 2019. Washington strikes. Huawei blacklist overnight. Just one day, Xiaomi's fierce domestic rival loses access to Google Android ecosystem. For smartphone maker in the global markets, that's a death sentence. Huawei sales in Europe collapsed. Xiaomi moved like lightning. Within weeks, their marketing team flooded Europe. They got deals with carriers and retailers that Huawei used to dominate. In electronic stores in Berlin and Paris, sales staff started steering customers away from Huawei towards Xiaomi. Same spec, lower price, and it still has Google Map. Shoppers love it. By mid-2021, Xiaomi surpassed Samsung to take the top spot in Europe for the first time ever. Lei Jun didn't create Huawei's ban, of course not. But when the gap appeared, he was ready. Redmi flooded mid-tier markets. The Mi brand pushed upwards. Mi 10 series, 108 megapixel camera, Qualcomm top chips, first flagship over $600. The last bet. Which brings us back to today, to the car. Spring 2024, all the pieces are in place. Ecosystem is built, supply chain is mastered, the cash flow is massive. When Lei Jun steps onto that stage to launch the SU7, you have to understand, he isn't just launching a car, he's closing an ecosystem loop. The SU7 runs on Hyper OS. This is the same operating system that runs Xiaomi phone, tablets, smart home devices. Slides into the driver's seat, your phone seamlessly projects onto that 16-inch dashboard. You can pin apps like WeChat or TikTok right off on the car screen. It's not a car with a computer inside. It's a Xiaomi device that happens to have wheels. No need for Bluetooth, no Apple CarPlay connect and disconnect ever. The car is a Xiaomi device. By Q2 2025, over 60% of Xiaomi revenue came from non-smartphone businesses for the first time in the company's history. They aren't just a phone company anymore. The triathlon model finally makes complete sense. More devices sold, more users in the ecosystem, more service revenue, and then more investment in new devices. Lei Jun once said, only by winning in China, the world's ultimate hardware market, can Xiaomi win the rest of the world. Meanwhile, Porsche is slashing 30% of its China workforce. VW CEO admits, our business model no longer works in its current form. If you look at Xiaomi's journey, from the rise, to the near-death experience, to the ecosystem pivot, and finally to the car, you see a pattern that applies to all of us. Because if you're in your own valley right now, if you feel like you lost your edge, your market, your magic, remember this: the phoenix isn't born in a moment of inspiration. It's built through 1,000 of small decisions to keep going when no one's watching. Lei Jun's comeback wasn't about avoiding mistakes. It was about 3 things. 1. Recognizing that his original model was broken and having the humility to fix it. 2. Leveraging the unique density of China's supply chain to move faster than anyone else. 3. Integration. Building a garden, not just a product. And your comeback isn't ahead of you. You're building it right now. If this episode gave you a fresh way to see global business, the hidden mechanics behind the headlines, tap subscribe. And for every research link, chart, and source references behind this episode, head over to my Substack. Links is on the comment. It's all over there. Thanks for watching, and stay curious. And drop a comment too. What company drama do you want us to investigate next?